Zero to seven figures. .com 0 to 7 figures. .com 0 to 7 figures. .com.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 07 Figures Podcast. I'm Brian Post.
And I'm Abraham Ruiz.
Glad to
How's
have
everybody
you
out there?
Yeah, man, it's been a good week, been a good couple weeks.
Man.
I know you got some storms coming through, so I know that's always good for your business.
We did. We got some storms even last night. It just my poor little Lexus got beat up.
Yeah,
Didn't get beat up, but enough to make me mad, man.
yeah,
We got some hail though. That's a good thing for me for sure.
Yeah,
Opportunity is right, and lifting the COVID lockdown is helpful too.
yeah. I'm about to be heading back out to California. The governor is about to open up California again, so there's really no excuse for me not to be back now.
That's right. That's right. No excuses.
Yeah, so I'll head back there in another week or so.
Well, we wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about mentorship and your mentors.
Yeah,
and
man.
the impact they had on the direction that you took and where you ended up, and where they can help you continually as you're going through the process of starting your business.
Yeah, I would say actually that probably for me, mentors have probably filled a huge role in my life and given me direction when I didn't have it, and that goes all the way back to graduate school. It's when I would say I probably had my very first mentor, who was
Right.
really, who I was really seriously involved with and connected to and stayed connected to. And he really set my professional course as far as becoming a therapist. He's the one who kind of just put me right on that path. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's for me, having a mentor is invaluable.
Yeah. I mean, as growing up, I think around the age of 11, I decided I wanted to be in youth ministry and work with kids. And so my mentors did have faith affiliation,
Mm-hmm.
but they were also business owners too. And I didn't realize that as a kid, but as I got older, I realized youth ministers don't make any money. And so you have to have a business as well. And so some of those people I stayed in contact with, and they've been able to help me, not only spiritually, I'll be honest with you, not only spiritually, but also financially, physically, and, keep my moral compass headed in the right direction, make sure that I'm handling my customers properly. And I think that's been the biggest asset for me when it comes to my mentorship, is making sure that my character and my integrity were intact when I was conducting business. And that's a lot of things, especially my industry in roofing, there's a lot of that missing. And so I try to take that with me, and hopefully that is readable when customers engage with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did have a mentor once that was kind of shady, and surprisingly, I would say he was my second mentor.
Okay.
And very shady dude, but again, he's the dude that set me on my entrepreneurial path.
Okay.
So I started working for him out of graduate school, and I disliked the man so much, but I respected his hustle. I mean, he was a grinder. He was a risk taker. I'd never been around that. My first mentor had been a therapist for years and years, had worked for the government for 25 years, and then had been in private practice for 20 years. So he'd been successful as far as that's concerned, and he helped me, get started. But that second mentor, as shady as he was, the dude was a hustler. And I actually went from working for him to starting my first business, which competed with him and eventually put him out of business.
Well, there you go. That's funny that you mentioned that in regards to my roofing company. I started in roofing. A friend of mine asked me to help him with the sales staff, come over and help. And I went over there and I realized the opportunity there was in the industry. But the particular individual that he was working for ended up being very, very scandalous. He's one of the get on the news types. Actually, I wish maybe I'll post it in the comments. I have video of his company being targeted by the local media, saying, hey, it said predatory contractors, and it had a picture of him walking up to the door with his car in the background. I was like, oh, dang. Wow. And that was after I had parted ways and realized what he was doing. He was taking all the money and not putting roofs on, and leaving people in the lurch. And, he had a plan, and I guess he was going to go to Mexico once he got enough money, and we got him before he got to leave. So
what happened to him?
We had to hire a detective. So I don't want to get too much on him, but the reality was there are bad mentors and there are good mentors. And he in particular, we were able to rectify that for the customers. But, sometimes that doesn't happen. But understanding what you can take away from somebody is a big deal. Because there's always something you can take away of, like me and my dad. Me and my dad didn't always see eye to eye. He was a hardworking blue collar guy, not a business minded person, but I took that part of him with me. And he was very shrewd when it came to the way he talked to people and the way he engaged with people. People liked him a lot. And so I did take that with me, but I definitely didn't take some of the other stuff that I thought wasn't as necessary. So, I mean, that's cool. Important to know too.
What would you say is one of the biggest lessons you've learned from one of your mentors? And I'll start that. I'll ask that question, and then I'll tell you one of mine, who's still a mentor to this day. He's a Canadian businessman, entrepreneur, and he told me probably, I'm going to say about 8-9 years ago, I was in Canada with him, and I was going through some struggles in my business. Mm-hmm. And he said, Brian, you have to learn how to make money from day one. And I never had that concept. And really what he meant is that you have to put your focus on your sales and your marketing from day one. And you have to invest your sweat equity. You have to do everything you can to make money in your business from the very first day, as opposed to accumulating debt. And I feel like a lot of business owners, they see the venture capitalist, and they see these people getting all these business startup loans and everything. And they get this idea that that's how they need to start their business. And That's actually not the right way to go about it.
And it's true. I had engaged with a couple of people in my business practices, partners and people that wanted to engage as a partner. And that was their thing. Let's throw as much money at it as we can to get where we're trying to go. It's like, well, that's, does money drive the fuel the vehicle? Sure it does. But so does hard work.
Yeah.
And so hard work would be the bigger part of it. So we can't just pretend we're a roofing company just because that's what we do. There's more than just putting on roofs that's involved in what we do. And that's something that's right. It's now in regards to your question, the one thing that I would think I would take away from my mentors, and I already touched on this, was the character that I brought with me. Mm-hmm. Now I deal primarily in small town America. I do work heavily in DFW too, but I work a lot in rural America. And so the character and the integrity that comes with you is a big deal for them. And I used to believe that there was two personas. There was a work persona, and then there was a personal persona. And I built myself that way, structured myself that way when it came to business. It's not true, in my opinion.
It's all one persona.
Yeah, I think you are who you are. Now, do I put on a different voice sometimes when I talk on the microphone? I do. But the words that I'm saying are the same words I'd tell you if I wasn't speaking into a microphone. Mm-hmm. And I don't, why is that? Why do we have to do that when the mic's on? I don't know why I do that. My voice adjusts. I get deeper in my tenor. Sound like Barry White on the mic. But I would say that would be the one thing that I took away, because like I said, mine were faith-based individuals. One of them is not too far from here in Dallas, and I remember watching him and with his wife and his kids and all 200 kids that he worked with in the youth ministry, and just watching him and seeing his actions and seeing his movements, and I never to this day have seen him misstep. Now, is that probably not realistic? Probably not. He probably missteps all the time. I just didn't notice it because I had such admiration for the man, and I didn't see anything that was alarming. So that was the one thing that I took with me.
It's funny you say that, because my first mentor, who I had a great deal of respect for, and he was greatly respected throughout Dallas-Fort Worth, actually, he he had been in private practice for like 20 years and billing Medicaid, and come to find out, it was probably all fraudulent. So, well, yeah, one day he calls, he's in a panic, and this is when he's 66 years old. And he's like, I've got a Medicaid audit. I need you to come help me. And he wanted me to help him forge all these progress notes for all these kids he had billed on, and he had provided a service, giving them Kool-Aid snacks and a place to play art and stuff, but he knew what he was doing.
Right.
And it was so interesting to see that house of cards potentially crumble. Nothing ever came of it for him. So, a lot of times with mental health services, as long as you can document it, that something did happen, then it's legitimate. But yeah, when you mention that about your mentor not having seen the misstep, I know there's missteps with our mentors, because there's missteps with myself. It's just, you don't always see it. But what about your paid mentors? What kind of paid mentors have you engaged in, and what have you learned from them?
Paid mentors, define that for me.
I would say a paid mentor is someone's book you buy, someone's course you attend, someone's coaching or consulting you do, someone's seminar, that's what I would call, or even paid mastermind groups.
I would say this will go very retro. This is back when my father passed away in 97. I was 19 years old, first semester in college. But when he passed away, he left me, I'll say I inherited a janitorial / I think I've touched on this before, janitorial / carpet cleaning company, Mr. Steamer Carpet Cleaner.
Yeah.
And so when he left me the company, I was at a loss. I didn't know anything about the industry. I mean, when it comes to the janitorial side, if you don't know how to clean a toilet, that's on you. But when it came to carpet cleaning, there are chemicals, there's biohazards, there's all these things that as a 19-year-old kid, I'd never even put my mind to. And so I had to learn that. So what I did, I went around, I sourced, I talked to other people in the industry. I found out there was an organization in Kansas. The most interesting part about this organization, outside of what they taught me, was they were operating out of an old nuclear missile silo in the middle of a wheat field. Like driving into it, I was going down a dirt road. There was not even gravel on it. It was a dirt road, and you cut into the wheat field, and there's this small building. You get up to it, and you drop into it. It's concrete. It was a silo. And it was very interesting. The keys were still in there, but there was no missile. But the things that they taught me about the industry were invaluable. They taught me, the main thing I think they taught me was the interaction with the customer. How do you use your words and when to stop talking? And that in sales is a tough one, is knowing when to shut up. Mm-hmm. We as sales guys tend to think quiet means they're saying no, or that they're going to think and so we have to talk. We feel like we were prompted to talk. And that is the one thing I took away from them, was saying, when they're quiet, it's okay to be quiet. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't mean they're thinking about not using you. It doesn't mean they're going to reject the sale. It just means they're thinking. And that is a legitimate thing to allow them to do, is to think. And if you've presented yourself properly, and if you've presented the proper product, and there usually isn't a problem. So yeah, I would say that was the one thing I took away from that, is learning to shut up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's very useful. That's very useful. I have, I've been an avid student of the sales game for a long time. I go all the way back to Jim Rohn, Robert Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki is still very relevant. Jim Rohn's dead now. Robert G. Allen, he was way back in the day, a real estate guy. And I have paid a lot of money. I've been in 2 $25,000 a year masterminds. So one of those I was in for 3 years, and one I was in for 2 years. And what I gained from those, number one, is just the connections and the relationships. It's like being in a shared energy. And even though those guys I don't talk to on any kind of regular basis anymore, and some of them I still do business with. I mean, one of my Facebook ads guys was in my first mastermind, but I could still call any number of those guys, and it's like you have a shared connection, right? Of just being on that next level of energy and accomplishment and accountability. And then also I mean, Russell Brunson, I was in his mastermind for 2 years.
Wait, really?
A personal friend. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's invaluable. I mean, Russell's ClickFunnels is doing probably 250 million a year now. So it's been pretty amazing to watch that progression. But yeah, I mean, to me, even in my professional career, I have always sought out to learn. Now, I got to a point in my professional career, and even in my business career right now, where I don't read as much. I don't read as many clinical books anymore. I don't read any, actually. And I don't read as many sales and marketing books anymore.
Sure.
I think the last dude I read actively in sales and marketing was Grant Cardone.
Grant Cardone, yeah, me too.
10X and his Closer Secrets, which both were fantastic. And I actually ended up connecting Grant and Russell. So it's kind of cool to kind of look at Grant Cardone as a mentor. Russell definitely has been a mentor, and to be able to connect the two of them. And I think Russell said he made something like $4 million in 18 months time. So, it's also cool to give back to your mentors. And I feel like that's something I'm always interested in doing, and I feel like is important.
Let me ask you a question in reference to the finances and success. This is I don't know what your mentors have taught you and some of the things you've read. I have maybe this is because I was raised, or a lot of, I say raised in a business sense, by people of faith, that success wasn't necessarily driven or wasn't necessarily monetarily something that you can show monetarily. So for me, I mean, I've had a lot of success in my life, and some of it was non-monetary. Have you seen it throughout your businesses that most of your successes were monetary gain, or were they more?
I would say it was probably a combination. I mean, for me, because I'm in that social services field where it's important to be mindful and work on your own shit, and
Sure.
develop more self-awareness. That kind of growth is a part of every business I've been in, and forming relationships,
Sure.
maintaining them, facing the realities when you got to fire people. But a lot of my drive personally and professionally has been monetary. It's how I derive value, self-worth. It's what excites me. And I always want to strive to be a good person. But
don't you feel it's a natural progression, though? If you're doing all the right things, especially if you have something laid out for yourself and you have a roadmap for yourself and you're doing the right things, monetary usually just comes hand in hand with it.
Yeah, and I've also, what's the old saying? If you give a man money, he's just going to become more of the man he already was. So,
right.
If you're an asshole and you get rich, you're just a rich asshole. But if you're a good guy and you get rich, you're a good rich guy.
Is that what happened to me, man?
That was the downfall.
I'm not saying I'm rich. I'm just got a few more coins in my pocket than I used to. But no, it's true. It is true, because the measure man's not the amount of dollars he has in his bank account. So it's like that is absolutely true. If you give somebody that is an asshole cash, how does that change them? You give a poor person cash, a lot of times they go one direction or the other. I have friends that have gotten wealthy, and I had no idea, absolutely no idea that they're wealthy. I mean, multi-millionaires tipping on billionaires, and I did not know it. They don't talk about it. They just did what they wanted to do. They enjoyed what they did, and they made money doing it. And that's amazing to me. It's not all of us get to do what we want to do and make a living doing it. And
for sure. But that's like the number one. I feel like the number one goal for most entrepreneurs, most small business owners, is that they want to do what they love doing, and they want to create a good life for themselves. I know my goal is always freedom. I want the freedom to do whatever it is I want to do.
Bam, baby. That's it. Freedom. That is my number one goal. And that's what I tell people. They're like, man, you like working. I said, you make a lot of money. I said, I do. I said, but I don't even think about it in terms like that. It is literally about what the money buys, which is freedom for me.
Yeah.
If I want to hop on a plane and go see my sister in another state, I can do that today and not worry about, okay, that's 3 times the price that I would pay if I waited 6 months. Now, am I frugal? Would I try to plan ahead? Absolutely. I'm a planner, but in regards to that, I could. And that's important. Freedom is a whole foundation of what we do. It's like, because I mean, right now you would rather be actually physically sitting on the beach having this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, that would be,
Really
that
wanted
would,
to, guess where
that
you'd
would be
be.
great. And you know, it's nice to know that if circumstances permitted, I could be doing that. At the same time, I feel just as good sitting here right now
Absolutely.
in my house, you know, doing it as I would on the beach. I wouldn't feel any different. And, you know, it's funny because I'm very frugal too when it comes to certain things. I wear the same black t-shirts. I have a couple pair of jeans that I wear all the time. A lot of money on myself that way. Now I'll spend a lot of money on education. That's something like just this morning, I dropped $1,000 on a Wealth Factory program, a couple different Wealth Factory programs, because I want to learn more about finances and stuff like that.
Sure.
But I will not throw away a stamp, you know, because it's 37 cents that I don't want to lose, you know. So it's like this different level for me. But then
when the hell are you using a stamp?
yeah.
Throw the damn stamp away, man. You don't need that stamp.
But hey, let's talk about how do you find your mentors?
How you find the mentors? Okay.
Yeah.
You go first, man. There's
Again, I would always, for most people, number one, if you're listening to this podcast, 0 to 7 Figures Mastermind is a fantastic way to find two amazing mentors, Brian Post and Abe Ruiz. But for me to find mentors, it almost always starts with the form of education. So it's a book, or it's a podcast, or an audio program that I'm listening to that I really like that guy. And the more I listen to him, the more I want to learn from him. That's probably one of the single greatest ways I've found my mentors. And
I do want to mention something. When it comes to finding mentorship, it's like the thing that separates you who's listening to somebody that may be a mentor is usually just the action.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not even the content that's rolling around in your head or the drive. Sometimes it's just actually putting your feet in motion. And that's really the difference. A lot of times say, well, I've gone through a lot of storms. I've gone through a lot of tribulation to get where I'm going. You haven't done that. You've stayed stationary because it's comfortable. It's warm, you know? Yeah. So is your mother's womb. Were you going to stay in there for the last 60 years? It's like at some point you got to jump out. But yeah, finding your mentors, like for me, I same thing. I immersed myself in groups. Mm-hmm. And when I was in those particular groups, I gravitated towards certain type of person that was like-minded like myself, but had progressed further in their career than I had. And so I always did that. Most of my friends that I have in this community are usually bank presidents. They own their own business. They own the restaurants and bars in town. And so those are the type of people I tend to gravitate towards, because even without them knowing, they mentor me every day.
Yeah.
And it's not somebody that I sit underneath there and like look up at them with doe eyes and think they're, you know, I just know they've had successes, and I wanted to absorb their wisdom and absorb their travels. And so that's really all it is.
100%. Well, and the other thing is that action leads to experience. So if you've taken consistent action, then you've had consistent experiences, which gives you a level of growth. I mean, anyone can be a mentor to someone else. It just depends on your level of experience. And like you said, if you've taken action to give you a wisdom that you can share. Another thing is with mentors is just being open, talking to people, listening. And when you're open and you talk to people and you experience people who have wisdom.
Right.
When you find those people, don't be afraid to say, hey, can I call you up and ask you about, you know, my business? And can I get your email address?
And because the idea behind that is not just getting something from that person. There's a genuine exchange that happens.
Absolutely.
And there's things that happens on your level that you can share with people that you don't think you have anything to give, but there's always something to give. But absolutely, it is just a matter of saying, hey, can I call you? Is it okay if I ask you some questions as I'm going through this? Because I've seen that you've had some successes. It's as simple as that. Being scared to do it is a problem. And that's, once again, action. And you're just going to have to do it and be vulnerable at some point in your life if you want to have the successes that you're looking for. And that is vulnerability is, I have no problem with that, man. I'm not a modest person. So even when, like right now, if I didn't have to, this wouldn't be on. That's all modest I am. I don't care about that. I don't mind showing what I got, because I know that when I've done that, people have been able to tell me, hey, they've shone a light on this and on this, say, hey, you got to correct this. I see this in you. Is that what you're trying to do? And I was like, absolutely not. I didn't know that. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And so that's what you have to do. You're absolutely right, Brian.
So find yourself a mentor.
Yeah. So one of the things we would encourage you guys to do is look into 0to7figures.com podcast. And then also look into the 0 to 7 Figures Mastermind.
Yeah.
We offer a lot of different ways for you guys to connect with the people that you need to connect with. That type of network is invaluable.
Yeah.
It's not about how much you're investing into it. It's about what you're getting out of it. And that's key.
Yeah. We'll just click on the link below, 0to7figures.com. You'll learn all about the mastermind program specific to North Texas entrepreneurs and small business owners. It's just an amazing opportunity. So what do you say we shut this thing down? Next time, I think we should talk about goals.
Goals are great. Yeah.
I love talking about goal setting.
Yeah. I like it.
All right, guys.
All right. It was nice seeing you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Remember, smash the like button, subscribe. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comment section below. We will be glad to address them either through text or whatever connection we can, but we'll try to address them on the show if we can.
100. Peace.
All right.
0 to 7 figures. 0 to 7 figures.com.